second graders! Welcome to today's grammar lesson. You are going to be learning about real life connections. And by the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify real world connections between words and their uses. Let's begin. Here is our real life connections anchor chart where we're going to write some notes. So let's define what real life connections means. It means sometimes when you read words, you think of how it relates to your life. Underline your life. Okay? So you're going to use your background knowledge, things that you already know, to relate to words that you read. Okay, so now we're going to go over some examples. On the next line, I'm going to use my blue marker and I'm going to write examples, nice and big. Examples. Yay. Okay, let's begin with our first example of, let me get a marker. Let's use pink. Sweet is going to be our first example. Think of a time where you have eaten something sweet. What does that remind you of? What type of food? For me, my example for sweet are Swedish fish. Now it's Easter time, so I got these at Target because I like them. They're sweet, sweet treat. So Swedish fish would be an example of sweet. So I'm going to write that example in pink. Swedish fish. On your paper, you can write your example next. I'll leave that a blank for you. Okay? You can fill in something that reminds you of something sweet, okay? Our next example will be juicy. Think of a time where you ate something juicy. What does that remind you of, that word, juicy? For me, it reminds me of a juicy orange. Ooh, delicious. Not everybody likes oranges, but I certainly do, and that word reminds me of oranges. So I'm going to write juicy and dash oranges. What does juicy remind you of? You can write in your example there. Okay? The next example we're going to talk about for a real life connection word is warm. Now think of what warm means to you. Warm. I have an example for you that I'm going to show you. Warm reminds me of a warm, fuzzy blanket. What does warm remind you of? You write your example next to my example of blanket, fuzzy blanket on the anchor chart. We'll write that together. So like I was saying, warm reminds me of blankets. I already started writing it. Blanket, fuzzy blanket. You write an example on yours. What does warm remind you of? Let's do one more example. Last one will be spicy. What does spicy remind you of when you think spicy? Spicy reminds me of a spicy jalapeno. Have you guys ever eaten a jalapeno? If you have, then you will know that these are really, really spicy. I'm going to write jalapeno on my anchor chart. And it's squiggly over the end because it's a Spanish letter. Now what does spicy remind you of? Write your example next to mine. Okay? And this concludes our our anchor chart for real life connections. I hope this kind of gives you an idea of how you can identify real life connections from words and how we use them. So for examples, we did sweet, juicy, warm, and spicy. There are so many other words that you come across during your readings or in class or in conversations with other people that help remind you of other things such as enormous, tall buildings, or enormous elephants, and the list could go on. So I will be posting this anchor chart on our Google Classroom for you to reference. I'm going to fill in some extra examples here just in case so that nobody gets confused, but I would like you guys to add in your example too. All right, have a great day. See you later.